And so we're back from outer space. What's going on, Jerome's, and put it all up in your stupid face. It's gonna be a beautiful day. Minnesota Vikings gonna light up the Lions, the low energy Lions, the devious Lions. It's gonna be a good day. Woo! All right, so unfortunately, Alec Trebek passed away. It's very sad. So he's been fighting, he had stage 4 cancer for a while, and it's just very sad. But 2020, man. 2020, man. All right, so take a look at the game. We got some Q&A as well. And this is a game that the Vikings have to win. And it's not so much obviously 2-5, no margin for error. Got to get this one done. Need a division game. Need to actually start winning games at home. But in terms of, hey, this is a game that you should win. You are heavily favored. The Lions are missing key players on both sides of the ball. Babytron's out. Trey Flowers on IR. Stafford hasn't practiced all week. Also, he's been bad this year. So you have to win this game. You have to win this game by 14, by multiple touchdowns, and just have there be no doubt. Have there be no doubt. Go full Gwen Stefani today. But also, you do worry about this team, man. You do worry. And we've seen with Zimmer that the squadron can get emotionally up and down, where you win this big-time game at Lambeau, emotions flying high. She actually talked to me, man. And then, can you actually show up in this game? Can you do that? So, TBD. But I feel pretty good. I feel really, really, really good about today. So, we'll get into the live chat. Live chat, what's going on? Let us know where you're watching from. Give a couple shout-outs. All right, so getting into the cues. Quick prediction. Vikings 30, Lions 17. Cook 143 rushing yards, 38 receiving yards, 3 tutties. Jefferson goes for 100, and so does Sam. Woo! Cooking with gasoline right out the gate. I actually think that this is a nice bounce-back game for the Vikings passing game because obviously Detroit's going to be keying in on Dalvin Cook. You're indoors as opposed to outside in 25-mile-an-hour winds, so I think that they will actually be able to get something going. I think Jefferson has a monster game, by the way. Tomahawk 10. On a scale of 1 to 10, how weird is it going to see All Day and Sack Daddy in those Lions uniforms? Adrian, not so much. Well, Everson's on the screen right now. We're number 98. He's looking thick, by the way. He's looking stout. But yeah, Adrian's like whatever. I mean, we already gotten over that. 2017 is with the Saints. 2019 it was with Washington, I believe. So it's Hold on, I need to pull the shade. I need to pull the shade as well as throw some shade. This is what happens when you rely on natural light for the video sometime, man. Yeah. Ooh, there we go. Also. So, on like the Sunday pregame shows, they have these very important one-on-one conversations. And, before, they have very dramatic lighting. But now they just have that dramatic lighting on the interviewer. And then the interviewee is just on like some Zoom call. It's like, it's fine to me. Archangel 01. The interaction between NFL Network, look. So Kay Adams, rock star, she was interviewing Ryan Tannehill in this exclusive one-on-one, and they were framing it like this is Frost Nixon. It's like, they're just talking to Ryan Tannehill, but it's like, how did you survive losing your left tackle, Taylor Lewan? It's been hard. It has been difficult. Coming up. Next up, Archangel 01. The interaction between Zimmer and Gladney after the Devontae Adams score last week tells you a lot about the locker room feels about Zimmer. It's just game day stuff. Sam Moros, is it me or is this going to be a bloodbath either for us or for them? I think it's going to be a bloodbath for us. Face. Pulford Skull, is their starting offensive line set and forgetting now? Reef, Dozier, Bradbury, Ezra, O'Neal. What's their secondary look like? Well, I think they are looking good up front, and I think they're starting to gel a little bit. Dozier's playing a lot better. Reef is having one of the best years of his career. Ezra Cleveland. He had a so-so game against the Falcons, and then he dominated against the Packers, which is great to see. Secondary looking like, well, Harrison, strong safety. Anthony Harris, free safety. And then, man, that's a good question. Oh, wait, they're wearing masks on TV shows now? Suppose they've been filming, so that makes sense. Gladney on the outside. Harrison Hand is dressed today, so we'll see. Chris Boyd is back. Yeah, Chris Boyd only missed part of the Green Bay game because he had cramps. Okay, so Chris Boyd is back. It's unfortunate Mark Fields is out because he was actually playing good. Chris Jones is there. Great. Elijah Bond, rushing yards for Cook, receiving yards for Jefferson. I'm going to say $112 for Dalvin. I'm going to say 156 for Jefferson. Stuff in more Hot Wheels. Dalvin Cook, how many rushing yards? I already did that. Best wide receiver duo, how many 50-plus yard touchdowns? 1. Magenta Man, yes. Sam Morris, Kirk will have 4 touchdown passes, and Cook will have 1 too. Yeah, the Kirky. So you know the meme? That's what I'm talking about, baby. That's why he's MVP. That's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT. That's the Kirk apologist whenever he plays well against a trash team. That's what he's going to do today. Daniel Olson, do you like 2020 Justin Jefferson or 1998 Randy Moss? They're two different entities. Now, part of it may be nostalgia, but I just remember as a kid just watching that 98 Randy Moss, just running the 9 route, just like Randall Cunningham. I'm Pat Summerall. Drops back. Wow. I mean, yeah. Where Jefferson, I think, is a super dynamic wide receiver. I think he's the best in this rookie class. Him and CeeDee Lamb are like 1 and 2. But, man, Randy Moss was just on a different planet. He was. Mr. Rain and Fire. Although, again, is there a degree of nostalgia and memories in that? Like, if you have 7-year-old kids now, when they're 20, 30, 40, will they remember Justin Jefferson the way they remember Randy Moss? I mean, maybe. Mr. Rain and Fire. How would the Vikings have looked if they had Mike Tomlin instead of Brad Childress in 2006 and beyond? It's a good-looking question. Well, they've had a couple Super Bowls. Like, man, could you imagine Tomlin with that 09 team? Team actually have some discipline? Man. Roll the Skull. Penny Sewell is the only one in the top 5 I'm standing on the table for. Let Ezra eat at right guard. Then address quarterback in rounds 2 through 4. Thoughts? Well, so I've been taking a look at a couple of mocks. And, I mean, some places, some outlets aren't as hot on quarterbacks in the first and second rounds as others. So maybe, but also it really thins out because, I mean, what are you expecting rounds 2? Well, Vikings currently don't have a 2. That could change. But what are you expecting round 3? Like Kyle Trask, Mac Wilson. I think that they either go round 1 or round 2 at minimum. And then you're looking at like De'Ara King. Does he fall because teams are still heightest? Or does Sam Ehlinger fall? I mean, I'm fine with Ehlinger. I'd prefer him like round 5. What about Kellen Mond? What about Desmond Ridder? So there's some interesting names, but I think if you have opportunity to either stick and pick and take your quarterback in the future or trade up and do that, I think that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, especially if it is. What is on CBS right now? It looks intriguing. Like they're in the old Baltimore Colts locker room, which, speaking of doing a city dirty, like I get that Baltimore stole the Browns, but the way that the Colts left Baltimore, middle of the night, those Mayflower trucks, that's dirty, man. That's dirty. What else? Mark Wills, how's Matt Patricia still have a job? That's a good-looking question. I think it's just because of Bob Quinn, of the GM, Lions GM Bob Quinn. He's the one who hired Patricia. Why are they profiling the Colts on Super Bowl Sunday? They ain't gonna get there. But, I think it's one of those self-sustaining things where if he fires Patricia, I think Bob Quinn gets fired. And the Lions, 3-4. They're 3-12-1 last year. So maybe they're improving. Travis Dealing, BC Johnson still has potential. I know BB getting a lot more balls thrown his way than BC this year. Yeah, absolutely. I think that he does. But I think that Kubiak does have a big fascination with BB. Also, with Jefferson and Thielen playing a lot more outside receiver and the Vikings not playing a ton of 11 personnel this season. But when they do, it is Jefferson and Thielen on the outside. So BB in the slot as opposed to BC in the slot. I think that does make more sense. But, I mean, the guy was a 7th-round pick. He's in his second year. He's massively overachieved so far. And I think that eventually he will get back in the mix. Evan Casconaway. I just realized that Justin Jefferson's middle name is Joshua. What do you think about the nickname Trey J? It rhymes with everything. It's actually pretty good. Triple J. Django Popcheck. Not sure if anyone has asked yet, but do you think Kirk would be a good mentor for the quarterback of the future? I don't know. Kirk doesn't really give off, warm mentor vibes. Doesn't really. So I'll say no, especially since in this scenario, it would be a guy coming in to specifically take your job. This isn't a spot where Kirk is at the end of his career. He knows that he's a backup. Maybe he's just holding the spot and keeping it warm as a bridge quarterback. Like, this is not a Josh McCown situation. So, nah. Ben Bauman. Andy, do you think the Vikings record early would have a lot different had they ran 3-4 most of the time? Nah, I don't think a 3-4 would have mattered against the Packers and the Colts of weeks 1 and 2, or even the Falcons week 6. Nah. Plus, the key part of it is having that two-gapping nose tackle. I mean, that is the crux to the entire 3-4 front. So without Pierce, we got put there. Nah. MJ23, do you think they get JJ involved this game more? And if so, how many yards will he get? Yes, $156. Woo! Bounce back game. Travis G, quarantine mullet Kirk or bearded Kirk? Quarantine mullet Kirk. I mean, bearded Kirk is more likable because he just looks like a dude. But no, mullet Kirk is no. That's the guy that's your punky QB. Tad Tradar, do you see DJ Wonnum being a future starter? If so, does he have star potential? I don't know about star potential, but certainly extremely solid starter. Like, he's not a physical metrics freak, and he's a little bit raw in technique as well, but you do like the versatility. South Carolina played multiple fronts. He played some defensive end. He played some stand-up linebacker. Played some in a 3-4. Played some 4-3. And you've seen that the Vikings have deployed him either mostly at left defensive end, but also as stand-up defensive tackle. So they, especially on third downs. So I think that he's a super versatile piece. Also, he was a team captain as a true sophomore for Carolina. So he does have some leadership attributes to him. So I think that frankly, I could see him becoming. Brian Robinson is a bad example because Robinson was actually a physical freak. I mean, so we do this every now and then. Yeah, Brian Robinson was a dude, man. I mean, look at this. 4'6", 40, had a 40.5-inch vert. I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. Dropped in the draft because he was a bit of a tweener. It's like, is he a true defensive end? Is he a stand-up outside linebacker? Is he all those things? Also, if you have a chance to go through, do comparables to just athletes, which I always find funny. So he's on the level of Visante Shenko. Or it's like, if you take J.J. Watt, I firmly believe that just look at this redonkulous. I believe if J.J. Watt had committed himself to being a tight end, I think that he would have gone down as one of the best defensive ends in the game. Like, full on. Absolutely insane. All right, what's next? Last Ridge, does Amir Abdullah get a run return against his former team? With Osborne healthy, probably not. Easy adventure. Lions going to load up the box and dare them to try and make Cousins beat them. That makes sense. I would. Sam Salinger Skull. How many sacks will Everson get? I'm going to say get 1.5. All right, so Aquara's been mainly rushing from the right side, so it's going to be Everson against Brian O'Neill in all likelihood. Oh, Jake Luton starting for the Jaguars. Gabbage. So I'm going to say 0. I think O'Neill stonewalls him. Final score prediction. I forgot what our final score prediction is. It was like 44-10 or something like that. John Merck. Does Cook touches go down significantly this week if we can win with Madison? I think it would be smart to, because Dalvin probably isn't about that 30 carry a game life, although last week was awesome. But say the Vikings get up big early, you just absorb a lot of carries with Madison. Sure. Skull Vikes, is Thielen going to do good or no? Yes, he will. Is Jefferson going to get passes? Yes. or we just run the entire game. Well, last week was a very specific set of circumstances because of the wind and whatnot. And also, the Packers are just bad against the run, so it's understandable why they just put it in Dalvin's gut. Harvey Melber, do you think Belichick could pull one on the Jets and just let them sweep the Pats so they would it looks like a straight 12-2? I wouldn't put it past Belichick. By the way, the Patriots-Belichick dynamic is so interesting because, all right, so backing up, what's the timeline? So Parcells and Belichick with the Giants, and then Parcells quits, and then Belichick goes to the Browns, and then back on the Jets, Parcells is there, and then he brings Belichick aboard as his defensive coordinator. Then Belichick, they went to the Patriots, and then they went to the Jets, and then Belichick went from the Jets to, he resigned as HC of the NYJ, and then he went up to New England, and then New England had to give them a first-round pick. It's very convoluted. But, man, I mean, the Jets had Belichick as their head coach, and then he bolted. Also, the Jets were the team that knocked out Drew Bledsoe, Mo Lewis, the linebacker, just puncturing Drew Bledsoe's chest. And then that's what brought Tom Brady on the field in 2001. So, yeah. Next up is King of the North. Two-part, does Cleveland get moved to tackle? And does Stafford clear COVID and start? Latter is yes. Cleveland moved to tackle. I think it depends. If they retain Riley Reif next year, I could see Ezra staying at guard. But I think that if they move on from Reif, although I'm advocating hang on to Riley Reif for one more year, then I could see Ezra moving out to tackle if they don't bring in some premier talent in that regard. But I think the fact that he had a great game against Green Bay, let's see it the rest of the way, and let's go. I mean, if he's gelling and vibing well in between Bradbury and O'Neal, let's do it. The average gamer, have the Vikings gotten their compensatory picks yet in 2021 draft, or are those announced later? Those will be announced in like March, something like that. Carter Jensen. Actually, when was it announced last year? Let's see. Last year it was, March 10th. Nailed it. There we go. Next up, Carter Jensen. How do you think the secondary will look with Dantzler out? Probably about the same it did against Green Bay. I think that the Vikings are extremely lucky that Kenny Golladay is out. Peter Erickson, better blocker, CJ Ham or Drew Samia? Hambone, come on. Scott Lean, is 9-7 enough to get the 7 seed? It's going to be really tight. It's going to be really, really tight. Let's see here. Let's see, NFL. I hate that it's so early in the season that we haven't, sites haven't updated their playoff picture yet. I'll have to look. Maybe we'll have one of our homemade ones. We might. ODS. Shimon. A big board. VP. Do I or do I not? I guess I'll find out. I guess we don't. What a rip. But, 9-7 is going to be kind of tight. Zing Productions, what's up? Questions is, would trading Kirk for Sam Darnold be smart? Because I think it would be a bit risky. TBD if the Jets would take on that salary. They certainly have the cap to do it. But also, if they traded for Cousins and took Trevor Lawrence, maybe. But also, I mean, are you really going to sit Trevor Lawrence for a year? Nah. But I think acquiring Darnold, if the Jets are truly done with him, would be great. Because I think that he does have a ton of potential. But the Jets have just been an absolute disaster. Daniel Olson. Do you think garbage time Kirk is great for fantasy? He's all right. He's fine. Robert Barweiler. Will Everson Griffin sack Kirk Crumbles more than once? I don't think he gets to him today. Nah. Ernesto Esparza, will Cook rush for 4 more touchdowns? Probably not. We'll take 2, though. Sam Morris, would CJ Ham be a good linebacker? Yeah, probably. He's got, CJ Ham. You even have a mock draftable? Yeah, I think Ham would be a great, sawed-off middle linebacker. He'd be a little London Fletcher adjacent. He'd be a little Sam Mills adjacent. Richard Olson, Garrett TW. eating a W. Sefi Sailor, does the offense win the game, or does the defense win us the game? Also, Vikings 31, Lions 24. I think it's a bit of both. I think the offense puts up points. I think the Vikings defense, with Stafford on a short week and also no Babytron, also their offensive line is dinged up. Get after it. Corey Mattis, will the offensive line actually pass protect? Yes. Jack Bootram, if Stafford doesn't play, does it give the Vikings a better chance? No. Griffin, Riley Emmer. Is Wilson's stock getting too high? I mean, maybe, except all of the... He was number 2. I mean, he played great against Boise State. He's the only ranked opponent this year. I think that teams will maybe pick apart his level of competition, right, wrong, or otherwise. I think that there's still a good chance that Trey Lance, just based on physical attributes, goes ahead of him. So, I mean, it's a long way till April. Charlie Bowman, is this team just trying to hold together long enough for Aaron Rodgers to become available? Him and Zimmer definitely have love affair for he was sticker to the Packers. Nah. Stan Lamaros. So when does... Let's look at his contract. All right. So after 2022, it's basically when they can get out from under that. So 2 years from now, meh. So when the Viking Day later. I know you preach on here, we don't have to tank to draft a quarterback. That Mahomes and Watson were drafted with trade up. Still comes down to scouting. Wow. Drafting good players. That's what matters. Cool. Will Volkman. Why'd you call out people who want to tank when yourself said win Green Bay game and then tank? Said it tongue in cheek. Also, can't people change their minds when new information is inputted? That's almost like the definition of growth and evolution. So it's whatever. All right. So also, how old is this kid? It doesn't matter. All right. So 10 minutes of game time. Subscribe if you haven't already. We'll be here at halftime to probably yell about things. Like if the Vikings don't have a 12-point lead at halftime, I'm gonna be mad. Exactly 12, by the way. If it's 13, I send it back. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the first half. We'll see you at halftime and post game.